Steven Universe, since its inception, has been an interesting series. It was a show that was always going to be unnecessarily polarizing to basement dwellers across the world. When you step away from that lens and compare it to the series that were airing around the same time, such as Adventure Time and Regular Show, or on another channel you would also see something like Gravity Falls or Star vs. the Forces of Evil, then you'd be able to see that, while heavily flawed, it still has its own place in the world, and unlike something like Teen Titans Go, it deserves that place in the world. In spite of its abysmal lows, it also had really high points, and at some point in the future, I'd like to see more from this series, and that's what I'll be talking about today, the potential future of Steven Universe. If you can't tell, I like this video format. The first thing that needs to be said is that, however it comes back, it needs to target an older audience so that Rebecca Sugar and the writer's room can tell the story that they want to tell, without it being censored for targeting a younger audience. The first story I want to talk about is one that takes place between Change Your Mind and the movie. The purpose of this would be to see how Steven created the piece that we see in the movie. My pitch for this is that there are gem colonies that don't want to change and that Steven and the gems have to stop before another gempire gets created. Out of all the pitches that I'm going to throw out today, I want to see this one happen first because there's potential for it to lead into more stuff, whether the more stuff in question be another series or more movies. But if this one were to happen and hypothetically I was in the writer's room, I would want to throw in a diamond injector at the end of the season or at the end of a movie, which would allude to more content coming in the future. If whatever studio greenlights it wanted to see if there was still any hype for Steven Universe out there, I see this being the most likely of all the pitches that I'm going to throw out. It doesn't rock the boat too much, but also shows that if there is any hype left for the series, then there is something to come in the future. The next pitch is pretty simple. It would just be a bunch of short stories about what the gems did while creating Little Homeworld, as well as giving us, the audience, a closer look at it since we never really got to explore it. We could see what parts of Homeworld's culture the gems wanted to bring in and what would make the other gems that are getting acclimated to the new area more comfortable. The next two ideas I find more interesting than the other two that I had, and unfortunately, neither of them really involve Steven. The first one is a series or a movie on the Gem War, seeing how all of it unfolded as well as seeing the aftermath of the battle, seeing when and how the remaining crystal gems found out about the corruption, and their initial reaction to having to poof and bubble their friends. Then there's Rose, Garnet, and Pearl finding Amethyst in the kindergarten. But the main appeal of this would be 1. Lore, 2. A lot of fighting. Steven Universe fight choreography was really good, and I'd like to see how they would handle all of this, as well as seeing what type of music they would make for these type of scenes, because this is the one that I see having the most music in it. The next pitch is the one that I see most people wanting to see, at least amongst people that make videos or have made videos on Steven Universe. That something being the origin of the gems, specifically the diamonds. Seeing the entities that created the diamonds and seeing how they started the Gem Empire. A big appeal of this one to me would be seeing how the Empire was in its infancy and seeing if it was ever that utopia that White saw it as. Because when we see it in Steven Universe, it is a dystopian nightmare. I like this idea because I believe that Homeworld was very underdeveloped, and that it was one of the aspects of Steven Universe that needed a few more seasons to really get going, but was unfortunately rushed in the end. The final pitch I've got is the most simple one, and that's following Steven during his post-future recovery. Seeing where he goes and seeing what him slowly getting into a better mental state would look like in the end. Maybe he finds a place that he wants to live in aside from Beach City while he's doing his traveling. Seeing him ultimately coming back to Beach City to see his friends and family would also be pretty cool. This could also establish more differences that world has that ours doesn't. Because while we know that world looks somewhat similar to ours, there's also clear differences, stuff like Empire City being more or less New York. I could see it being pretty fun seeing Steven's adventures going across the country, and also just seeing him get into a better mental state than he was in the end of Future. because while I dislike almost everything about Future, I do kind of enjoy how they handled all of that and how he's not just better in the end, and that he's actually taking time to get into a better mental space. I don't really see this being a hectic show. It's just a show that would more or less come on and you just relax and have fun with it. But those are my ideas, and if you have any, I am very interested in seeing what you have to say. Please drop them down below. Have a nice day, and I'll catch you later.